Hey everyone, welcome to Mongrels Garage. Tonight we're going to do things a little bit differently because I'm going to give you a little history behind this 1969 Mustang Mach 1 and how this channel ended up with its name, because the two are actually kind of related. Now this story started back when I was in junior high, so that's going to be at least 2-3 years ago, and maybe decades. Anyways, there was a fellow that I met in junior high. His name was Chris, aka Dirtbag. We'll get into that a little bit later too, because again, it's related. Now, Chris was a little bit of a bigger person back in those days for someone that was in junior high. I was quite a bit smaller. He was very protective of some of the other people. Now there was another fella, I'm not going to mention his name, but we'll call him Bull, short for Bully. And he talked a certain way. "Filth, what are you doing?" That's how this guy would talk. "Get out of my way." Stuff like that. And he used certain descriptive adjectives for people. Some of his favorites were dirty, dirtbag, mongrel, filth, etc. Now Chris and I found this very amusing. So you'll hear us talking like that once in a while, and we still are amused by it to this day. So from that point forward, he was dirty or dirtbag. I was either filth monkey or mongrel. So that's part of how this channel got its name. There's a little more to it than that. The other reason why this channel is called Mongrels Garage is because I do work on Fords, I do work on Dodges, I do work on GMs, and I even work on the occasional import, and even quads and lawn tractors and everything else. So it's a mix. And there we get into the next part of Mongrel. It's just a mixed bag of stuff, just like a mongrel mutt. So the two things just seem to go, the nickname and the mix of vehicles. Thus we have Mongrels Garage. Simple as that. Back in the day, I was a Pontiac guy. I really like my Pontiac, still do, but GM killed off the Pontiac division. I wasn't really a big fan of much else of theirs, and I had had some bad experience with Fords in the past, so not a big Ford fan. I do like the older Mustangs, and I do like the 70s trucks, and I can appreciate some of the newer stuff. But for the most part, I tend to shy away from the Fords. And the Chevys, love the LS, very reliable, good engine, but none of the body styles appeal to me. I gravitated towards the Mopar stuff. I really like the Chargers and the Challengers and the Ram trucks, and that really got me interested in the Hemi engine, the modern Hemi engine. And when I started this channel, that was kind of the goal. There wasn't a whole lot of Hemi swaps going on, lots of LS swaps, but I wanted to figure out how to Hemi swap. So I started researching. I was bored, it was COVID, and I just decided to start recording stuff and putting it on Facebook. And a lot of friends said, "Hey, you should put that on YouTube." So I did. Here I am. And thanks to all of you who watch. I can't tell you how much that's appreciated. It's great that you support the channel. I love the interactions in the comments and everything else. Now, where the two are tied together is Chris is the owner of this car. Now, Chris moved away. I didn't see him until after high school, so we were in our 20s by this time, and all of a sudden I get a call from him. I haven't heard from this guy in years. He knows I was into cars, even back then, so he found me, he looked me up because he had this car that he wanted fixed up, and he had moved back to Calgary. "Sure, why not? I'll come by, I'll take a look at your car." And so I show up at Chris's house. It was a little shocking at first, but we quickly picked up from where we left off, and Brent and Chris quickly went away. Mongrel and Dirtbag came back. So if you ever see us interacting and you hear us calling each other Mongrel and Dirtbag, that's where it came from. It needs a little bit of work, because when he bought this car, the description he got was, "Oh man, you could come down here, throw an engine in it, and drive it back." That's after you cut the tree out that was growing through the middle of it, and the half windshield dealt with that, the massive hole in the roof, and the numerous list of other things that were wrong with this car. It was a mess, barely salvageable, but it is an actual factory 1969 Mustang Mach 1 with the 4-speed manual, so it's got the top loader in it, and the transmission is original, the engine is not. Now, back to this, you might be wondering why I'm having so many issues with this engine. Right about the time I bought this car, Chris had purchased a 68 Mustang and had made good friends with his neighbor, who was also a Ford guy that was building up a T-Bird, but was losing interest in the project. Now, naturally, Chris, being a Ford guy, went over and started talking to his neighbor, making good friends with him, and eventually ended up buying the T-Bird from this fella. It was about a late 80s T-Bird, maybe early 90s. It was mid 80s. I don't remember. It was a while ago. But he had built a 351 Windsor, and it was a supposedly 69 block. I've never confirmed that, but Chris claims that it's a 69 block, which was date period correct for this Mach 1, and since it didn't have an engine, it seemed like a good solution. The other reason we wanted it is we had picked up that 68 Mustang, and we wanted to put the overdrive transmission in that. That car's still kicking around. It's out in the field. You've seen it in a couple videos. So that transmission went into that 68 Mustang. The engine went into this. Now, supposedly this is a warmed over engine. Got a little bit hotter cam, some ported heads. We did confirm it's got ported heads when we dug into it in the last video. So but it's also the reason why I don't know a lot of history behind this and what parts are in this. It's a few years old. There's another friend of ours, Chris and myself, that got this engine running and broke in the cam. Did a pretty good job. I mean, he knows how to break in a cam, and that cam obviously has held up over the last few years, but that was quite a few years ago. But the running condition of the car gradually kept on decaying, and it's never been on the road. It's only been started periodically to move it or to put it on a trailer, move it to one location to another, until it got to the point where this car just would not run and start at all. And that's when we really started wrestling with it, and when I started playing with it. And this video is us finally resolving the issue of why this car doesn't run right. You might be surprised. Stick with it, check out what's going on. All right, let's get into it. So the last thing we're going to do before I go and pull these heads off is we're going to look at the firing order of this cam. Now, it was set up for 1, 3, 7, 2, 6, 5, 4, 8 firing order, which should be a 351 Windsor. But it is possible it's got a 302 cam in it, which would be set up for 1, 5, 4, 2, 6, 3, 7, 8. So how are we going to verify this? Well, I've put all the intake lifters back in, and we're about to open number 1. So once number 1 opens, we're going to see which one opens next, which one comes up. So let's see what happens. So I've got number 1 right here. It's coming up. Now I'm going to have to help push some of these back down, but all right, number 8 is going down. Number 5 is coming up. Well, that's interesting. So that's got the 302 firing order. So number 4 should come up next, which will be this one here. And there goes number 4. Number 5 is going down. And number 2, right here. Yep. And after number 2, we got number 6, which I can see that's coming up. Then we should have number 3 right here. Yep. Then 7. Right there. And we're going to have 8. So, there it is. We got a 302 cam in here, not a 351 cam. So I'm gonna need a little crow here, and I'm gonna thank you to max power for getting me to check this once again. I thought I checked it before. I guess we didn't. So we're going to throw this back together, set it up with that firing order, and see what happens. Okay, so it's a good thing we labeled everything, because we're finding that firing order problem. We put everything back. I'm going to torque these down. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. We got the intake manifold back on already, and we'll get these all torqued back down, make sure everything's good, and then set it all back up again. Yay. Now, because these are torque them and forget them type style, that's why we're going to do things where we're going to tighten these down. And the easiest way for me to do that, just so I don't get lost, you can keep track of everything, good on you, but I'm going to start on number 1 and just work my way back. I'm just going to put all these down a little bit first. Alright, there we go. So we want both these on the base circle. Okay, there's the exhaust valve opening. There's the intake valve opening. As soon as this comes back up, we should be good. Okay. Torque these down to 20 foot-pounds, 240 inch-pounds. Then we'll move on to the next one, and we'll keep repeating that pattern until we're done. And now that we've spun everything over by hand, got them all torqued down, we're going to hit it with the old spin it over 1000 and make sure that everything's moving fine. It's looking good to me, so we'll put the valve covers back on, throw the carb back on it, put the dizzy back in it, and see what we got. Okay, as you can see, we got this thing pretty close to being back together. Got to get the distributor set up. How I'm going to do that, I'm going to take my finger, put it in the number 1 spark plug hole, crank it over till I feel pressure, and we'll get it to top dead center. Oh, there it comes. Whew. All right, why am I doing this the hard way? There it is, right there. All right. That's about perfect, actually. Now I'm going to reposition you a little bit. Now, when we're setting up the distributor, the important thing to remember is that it has to be firing number 1 when you're at the number 1 position. I'm actually about 6 to 10 degrees before top dead center on number 1, so it's a little bit advanced. But that's good, that's what we want. That's where these things usually like to live. So on the forward here, you got this which aligns your cap. It will only go on there, it can't go on off of that. So you can put this thing in any way you want, but the important thing is to make sure you got room for this vacuum advance to move. So we're going to orientate it that way. And we're going to take the rotor and turn it to approximately where number 1 would be. And that'll should give us lots of room to turn it. Now, this is pretty much how the factory did it, but you can, some people set stuff up so that it points at number 1 when it's firing number 1. Whatever you want to do, fill your boots. So long as it's firing number 1 when it's supposed to. Now the fun part of trying to get the oil shaft to line up. Okay, that's not going to be good. We're getting close. Just going to confirm where number 1 is. I know that this is our number 1 plug. That's where I want it to point at. See, it's pretty much pointed right there. So we're way out. Getting closer. So we can turn that to be firing number 1, so we should be good. It gives us some rotation room. I think we're going to go with this for now. Well, we know this is 1. Now we want 5. We're changing the firing order here, so it's 5 here. Fortunately, these wires are labeled yet. That's 5. 5, then 4. So that's this guy. Two. We got 1, 5, 4, 2. Yeah. And 6. Yep. And 3. Yeah, okay. A little taut, but fix it later. And 4. Oh, wait, no, 7. Finally 8. Okay. Well, let's give it a try, folks. See what happens. Good old fork consistency. Might have bit me again, but let's see what happens. Make sure it's out of gear. Seems to be. We're just going to use the old spinner over 1000 here. Fired right up. That already smells better. Not that much. Okay, get in there. Timing light on and see what's happening. Excellent. Oh yeah, that's running way better. That's what we're talking about. Yeah. Better. Shall we find out? Throttle response seems acceptable now. Well, there you go, Chris. I think we got the running issue sorted out. Still got a tweak on the starting issue. I think that's a bad starter. We'll tackle that next, but what do you think about that?
I'm liking it, Brent. I think, like you say, a new starter, a little bit of fine-tuning, and this sucker's ready to rock.
Yeah, and I'll start throwing her together here. Like, we got the major issue sorted out, the running issue, so She's definitely got some jam to her, buddy.
Yeah, rebuilt top loader in there, and it's running strong.
Oh yeah, she goes good. It's just for first gear and stuff, but we'll get some better wheels on it, make sure they're on there good. We're not quite certain about these ones and how well they're on there. So we don't want to mess around too much, but add a little bit of fun just to try it out. So we're making progress, folks. Stick with us. More to come on the Mach. Have a great day.